When future historians reflect on the decline of American global dominance, they'll undoubtedly highlight the rise of China, the first true challenger to U.S. supremacy in decades. They'll also note the reemergence of Russia, disrupting the American-led security order in Europe. These are familiar patterns in the cycles of global power. But what's different this time is how America is reacting. Instead of uniting against these global threats, the U.S. is turning inward, dismantling the very institutions that made it exceptional. Consider the Nature Index, one of the most authoritative rankings of high-quality scientific research. Its latest data confirms what many scientists already know. China is surging ahead. Of the top 10 research institutions worldwide, 9 are now Chinese. But at the very top, still standing strong, is one American icon, Harvard University. And yet, this is the very institution the Trump administration is aggressively targeting. In a bizarre campaign framed as a fight against anti-Semitism, the administration has demanded Harvard surrender private information about international students and cede control over parts of its academic operations, without ever fully explaining why Harvard was singled out. What's even stranger, the areas threatened with funding cuts have nothing to do with the woke politics Trump claims to oppose. Over 90% of the research funding on the chopping block goes toward life sciences, studies into diseases, medicines, and treatments like cancer research. Denying support for cancer research won ET silence student protests, but it could push Harvard off the global scientific stage. Yes, American universities face real challenges. I've criticized their growing obsession with identity politics and activism, but despite these issues, they remain the best in the world, by far. Just look at the overwhelming number of international applicants to top U.S. universities each year. No other country dominates higher education and research like the United States. Even Xi Jinping, China's president, and his rival both agreed on one thing. The best university to send their children to was Harvard. It is no coincidence that many of America's top tech companies are headquartered in Boston and Silicon Valley. These innovation hubs grew around elite universities like Harvard, MIT, and Stanford. But now, that unique edge is under attack. The administration has proposed slashing science funding by over $25 billion next year, and passed a bill that punishes top research institutions, not by improving the weak, but by taxing the strong. In business, you water your roses and prune your weeds. This is the opposite strategy. America's ability to attract the brightest minds from around the world has long been its greatest competitive advantage. While China relies on the top talent from within its 1.4 billion citizens, America has had access to the best of 8 billion people. And the results speak for themselves. 5 of the top 10 American companies are now run by immigrants. International students don't just power universities. They fuel the economy, contributing over $40 billion and supporting nearly 380,000 jobs last year alone. But now, that pipeline is under threat. Student visa processing is being delayed. Applicants are warned that their social media activity may be monitored. And the message is clear: you're not welcome. The effects are already visible. Online searches for U.S. PhDs are down between 25% and 40%, while searches for Swiss and Australian programs are soaring. 4 decades ago, when I dreamed of studying in the U.S. from India, I was drawn by its academic excellence, but also by its values. An open society, a welcoming land, a place where, in the words of Ronald Reagan, our origins matter less than our destinations. In today's fiercely competitive world, that idea, the American idea, might just be the country's last unique advantage, if it chooses to protect it rather than destroy it.